January 22nd, 1879, a day that began with the British Empire's worst nightmare. At Isandlwana, over 20,000 Zulu warriors wiped out an entire British column, leaving the red-coated soldiers devastated and their command in disarray. But this wasn't the end of the story. That same day, a storm of Zulu warriors, hungry for victory, turned their sights on a tiny outpost, Rorke's Drift. Just 139 British soldiers, most inexperienced, stood in their way. With nowhere to run and no reinforcements coming, they faced an impossible choice: stand and fight, or be annihilated. The young Lieutenant John Chard, a Royal Engineer with little battle experience, and Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead, a reserved but competent officer, scrambled to organize a defense. Using whatever they could find, sacks of mealie, biscuit boxes, and overturned wagons, they built makeshift barricades. The men prepared for what seemed certain, a fight to the death. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the ground trembled. The Zulu Impi, 3,000 warriors strong, marched in unison, their chants growing louder, their shields reflecting the fading light. This wasn't just an army, it was a force of nature, and they had just destroyed the British at Isandlwana. Inside the outpost, nerves were fraying. But the defenders had no time for fear. Reverend George Smith moved among the men, offering prayers and calm encouragement. Rifles were checked, ammunition counted, and every man took his position. Then it came, the Zulu war cry, a bone-chilling roar that seemed to shake the very air. The first wave of Zulus surged forward like a tidal wave. The defenders unleashed a storm of rifle fire. Martini Henry bullets tore through the charging warriors, but the Zulus were relentless, using their agility and numbers to swarm the defenses. The sheer weight of their attack tested every inch of the hastily built barricades. The battle had truly begun. The Zulus turned their fury toward the hospital, a vulnerable wooden structure housing over 30 wounded soldiers. Inside, chaos erupted as Zulu warriors hacked through the walls with axes and spears, their war cries echoing in the confined space. Private John Williams and a handful of others refused to give in. With bayonets and rifles, they fought desperately to hold the attackers at bay. But it wasn't enough. The Zulus broke through, and the defenders began a frantic, life-or-death rescue mission. Williams led an incredible effort, smashing through walls and dragging the wounded to safety, one room at a time. Flames engulfed the hospital as the last man escaped, Zulus surging just inches behind them. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare, but the defenders refused to break. Wave after wave of Zulu warriors hurled themselves at the barricades, their war cries merging with the crack of British rifles and the screams of the wounded. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of blood. The defenders fought shoulder to shoulder, their rifles glowing red-hot from constant fire. When the Zulus reached the barricades, it came down to brutal hand-to-hand combat. Bayonets clashed against spears. Soldiers swung rifle butts like clubs. Each attack was repelled with grit and sheer determination, but the defenders were pushed to their physical and emotional limits. The night seemed endless. Ammunition ran dangerously low, and many defenders fought with makeshift weapons. But every man held his ground, knowing there was no retreat and no surrender. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the Zulu war cries faded into an eerie silence. The attackers had suffered devastating losses, over 350 dead and countless wounded. Slowly, the Zulu force began to retreat, beaten back by sheer resilience and unbreakable discipline. The defenders, bloodied and battered, stood victorious. Of the original 139 men, 17 had fallen, and nearly every survivor bore injuries. Yet, against all odds, they had held their ground, defying a force 20 times their size. The battlefield was littered with the bodies of the fallen. The defenders' faces told the story: exhaustion, relief, and an unshakable pride. Rorke's Drift was now more than a mission station. It was a legend. The Battle of Rorke's Drift became the stuff of legend. 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded, the highest number for a single engagement in British history. Men like Privates John Williams and Henry Hook, and Lieutenants Chard and Bromhead, were celebrated as heroes. But the battle also symbolized the brutal cost of colonial ambition. For the Zulus, their bravery and tactical genius earned respect even from their enemies, but their losses were devastating. Today, Rorke's Drift stands as a reminder of what it takes to stand firm in the face of overwhelming odds, of courage, sacrifice, and the human spirit's refusal to yield. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more epic historic battles, brought to you by Historic Warfare.